Hey there, Jake's House family. Kim and Jacob here. Lately, we've been talking a lot about worship and specifically worship up at the altar and why it's important. So, Jacob, I know you're someone who loves to be up at the front during worship time. Can you share a little bit about what that means for you?
Yeah, totally. First off, I want to say that there's nothing necessarily more spiritual about being at the front versus in your seat. God is moving, God is speaking throughout the entire sanctuary every single time we're in there because He's so faithful. But the reality is when we step out of our seats and we step into the front, we're saying we're putting away all our distractions, anything that could get in the way of us in Jesus. We're saying no. When we step out, when we're giving ourselves room to be able to worship, maybe the Lord wants you to kneel and worship Him that way, or maybe He wants you to dance, and there's just not room for that in your seats. But another thing is that the altar is historically a place of encounter. It's a place of surrender. It's a place of sacrifice. And so when we take that step and we go to His altar, we're saying, I want more of you in my life, and I want to surrender anything I need to surrender so that I can get more of you.
Wow. Yeah, that's so good. I mean, especially the first part of what you said, that God is everywhere, He can meet you anywhere. I think a lot of times I let that kind of thinking keep me in my seat too, and I could encounter God and worship that way. But recently, I feel like He challenged me to step out, and He did ask me to dance for Him and worship and to move and jump around. And normally I had this kind of fear about it. I would be so worried about, oh, what do people think? Or do they think I'm weird or not dancing good enough? Or just worried about that instead of thinking more about the Father and what it means to worship Him and give Him my all. And I was able to do that, and I jumped the entire time during worship, and there was so much joy and so much freedom and honestly so much fun. And at the end of it, I felt so close to God, and
Right.
I don't think I would have had the same encounter if I had stayed back or I let myself be reserved in that moment.
Right.
And yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah, I love that. Just to hear when you took one step forward and you took one step out, you encountered Jesus. And I just loved about how when we do that, there's so much more love, there's so much more joy, there's so much more freedom, because that's what God wants for us.
Yeah.
And it always happens when you take that step forward. And so, church, I just want to invite you this Sunday, would you join us at the altar? Would you take one step forward, and would you allow yourself to encounter Jesus?